this is Shalisa. I'm actually here redoing my second video that I made. But the first thing I want to do is show y'all my altar that I have dedicated to Lucifer. So, this is his picture that I have that is a more similar depiction of what he looks like than most. I have a five-headed dragon because one of his symbols and animals is the dragon. Um, this is actually an earring, but it's a inverted pinnacle. It broke, and I use it on my altar now. This is a wolf. I don't know if you guys can see it, but that's my wolf. Another one of his symbols. I have another dragon. Wait, hold on. Right there. And that's my incense burners. So that is my altar that I made, devoted to Lucifer. And I have it on my dresser in my room. So I wake up to it every day. I see it every day. I see it before I go to bed. But this video is going to be all about Esther. I had created this video before, and it didn't quite come out the way I wanted it to, so I decided to do it again. This is also my shirt. It has 3 wolves on it. As I said, Lucifer, one of his symbols is the wolf, and this is the blood moon, which in a way represents both him and Esther, because Esther is the moon and blood represents life. It represents him, and that's what he comes to bring in a way. And this is my inverted pinnacle that I never take off. I got it from Spencer's, and I love it. So I'm here to talk about Esther and how she cannot be denied. There's no one that can say that Esther is not his wife. And you may ask, well, how do you know? Well, I know because I met her. I met her some years ago, and when I met her, I knew she was different than any other person I had ever met. Just the way she looked, like she had this aura about her that just was unlike any other person I had met. She was really nice, really sweet, smart. No one really had to tell me that she was his wife. She didn't even tell me that she was his wife because she lives in peace. She doesn't want anyone to know who she is, and it's not anybody's business who she is. And Satan himself does not want anyone to know who she is. But he does want people to know of her. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help him proclaim that Esther is his wife. So this was a few years ago that I actually met her. Spirits, as I've said in previous videos, will give you signs. All you have to do is ask for them. Lucifer himself will give you signs. All you have to do is ask for them. A few years ago, about 7 years ago, there's this woman, and she was on the internet claiming to be the queen of hell. She was claiming to be Esther. And if you didn't know any better, she was pretty convincing. I have to admit, she was very convincing on her arguments and everything, but there was no proof. And one day me and her became really close friends. And one day I got on the phone, and the Dark Lord possessed me to say things to her that there was no possible way I could have known. There was no way I could have guessed this or anything. He specifically spoke through me to her, and everything that I said, it just immediately called her out to, exposing her as not being his wife. He always wins. No one can get over on him. There's no one who can lie and say they're Esther or lie and say that they're his wife. He has one wife, one sole wife, one queen. There's no other person. There has never been another person in this world other than Esther that has sat on his throne, that has been called his wife. There is no one else. Period. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what you read on the internet or in books, because a lot of people like to throw in my face. They're like, well, I've read that Lilith was his wife. Well, in ancient literature, there was a mystery woman that was spoken of. And um, she was called the Queen of the Night. Well, they replaced her um, they replaced her name with Lilith, because Lilith means Queen of the Night. Now, for those of you who've read the Bible and know anything about Christianity, and maybe even a little bit about Satanism, true Satanism, theistic Satanism, like what I am, you know that Lucifer is known as the morning star. That's what Lucifer means in Latin. It also means bringer of light. Well, if you think about it, the morning star, the sun. The sun is the star. Where Esther's name also means star, which is there's no coincidence of that. Her being the star, her being the opposite of Lucifer. She is the moon. Her number is half of his. His is 666. Hers is 333. They're the perfect balance, yin and yang. So therefore, she is the queen of the night. She is his wife. Lilith, in all reality, is actually Satan. Every spirit, every pagan spirit has a counterpart, and Lilith is Satan's. But Lilith is not his wife. Esther is his wife. And as I said, he only has one. One. That's it. One. There's no mistresses. There's no additional wives. There's one wife, and her name is Esther, and that's the truth. Another proof or evidence that I have that Esther is his wife is that I've been his high priestess for a while now. But in the years that I've been his high priestess, I have come across some females who knew of Esther, knew of Lucifer, what he looks like, not just, what you see on the internet, but actually got to see him in his spiritual aspect and fell for him because he's beautiful. Lucifer was once an angel. There are some Satanists, there's some pagan, pagans are, Satanists are pagan, but there are other genres of pagans who will say Lucifer is still an angel. There are some people who believe that Lucifer and Satan are two different gods, and that Lucifer is his angel aspect and Satan is his devil aspect. Lucifer and Satan are the exact same identity. They're not individual, they're not two split personalities, they're the same identity. He is not an angel. Angels are of Jehovah. When Lucifer decided to leave heaven, he no longer was of Jehovah. He became a demon. So any pagan spirit is a demon. Gods are demons. Goddesses are demons. There's no light worker in paganism. There's no such thing. It goes against everything that the Bible says. The Jehovah, the Christian God, is against spiritualism and witchcraft in any aspect. So you can't be a Christian witch, or you can't say that you're a Satanist and yet you work with angels, or that you're, Wiccan and you work with angels. It doesn't work like that. But anyway, I've seen women who knew of Esther and seen Lucifer, and they became envious. They fell for him. They fell in love with him. They were attracted to him. They wanted her out the picture, and they became envious. They started hating her. They even tried to go as far as trying to deny her saying she was not his wife because they wanted to be his wife. Just because you want something doesn't make it true. Just because you want to be his wife doesn't make you his wife. Doesn't make Esther not his wife just because you want something. Like, that has nothing to do with anything. That's wishful thinking, and that's stupid. And another reason is like, okay, so that happened. How do you know though? Okay, how do I know? I went through it myself, personally. I'm about to tell you a very personal story. Um, Last time I told this story, I got really emotional. I don't know how I'm gonna react to this time. Before I started, I asked Lucifer to be with me. Um, the last video I did, I went through it and I didn't cry. I didn't really get that emotional about it, which surprised me because it's a very emotional tale that I'm about to tell you, but it's 100% true, and it's the only way that I can truly put into detail how I know that Esther is his wife. So I grew up Christian, and they used to always say, Satan was the cause of this, Satan was the cause of that, Satan did this, and Satan did that, and Satan is a liar, and all of that. And I never listened to it. I never believed it. I just couldn't understand how a God who, brought knowledge to Eve and told her the truth, how could that be bad? Someone who uh, brought out the best and the worst in people, allow you to see yourself for who you truly are. How is that bad? Why would you want to serve a God that hides things from you? That's how I perceive the story of Adam and Eve. So I've always had an admiration for him ever since I was a kid. And once I actually became a Satanist, because it took me a while. I was a Christian from age 3, even it wasn't my choice, but from age 3 to about 18. And then I started getting an interest in Wicca when I was about 14, but I wasn't allowed to um, switch religions when I was a teenager. I had to stay a Christian. So I actually didn't become pagan until I was 19. And I was Wiccan from like 19 to about 21. And then I mingled with Christianity again, mixing it with paganism, which didn't work. And then about 2 years or so later, I became an eclectic pagan. And then I found Satanism, and I've been a Satanist ever since. Now, when the woman I told you about, when Lucifer had possessed me and had me tell her things to expose her and to prove that Esther was his wife, I was intrigued. I wanted to know more. And that's when I found out who Esther was. And I told you I met her. She was beautiful. She was kind. You could tell she wasn't normal. She's a human, but she's not normal. She's his wife. So, because of the admiration and the love that I had for Satan since, I was a child, I became jealous because I wanted to be his only follower. I wanted to be all about him. I didn't want nothing else. I didn't want anyone else to be involved with him at all. I just wanted to be me, which of course is ridiculous. There's a million people in the world, over a million, and he's a god. He's not like one person. But that's how I felt. I was selfish, and I wanted him all to myself. But when I actually met her, I was like, wow, and so that passed. Well, I began to learn more about him, and um, I began working really closely with him. He appeared to me a few times. I would sense him. I could hear his voice, and I fell for him hard. Okay, and what's even more fucked up about it is I wasn't married at the time, but I was engaged, and I loved my fiance. I really did, but the attention that I got, being able to hear him all the time and sense him and have this feeling of a power that I had never felt before, I became infatuated with him to the point of absolute obsession. I could not get enough. And I'm also a psychic. And Lucifer, witchcraft comes from Lucifer. Like, there's a lot of people, a lot of psychics, especially Christian psychics, who get offended and say, I'm not of the devil, or I don't believe in the devil, or the devil is not associated with witchcraft, or yes, he is. Okay, he's the king of pagan spirits. If you do any form of witchcraft, you're working with demons, and that's even in the Bible. Like, if you're a Christian and you're a psychic, you're going against your own God. So, as a psychic, I was working extremely close with him. So I was always having some kind of connection to him. So, like I said, I became obsessed to the point of where I became envious and I became hateful of Esther because I knew she was the one person in the world that always had him. Because even though I had him a lot, I didn't have him all the time. There would be times where he would literally cut himself off from the world and be all about her. 100%. I couldn't feel him. I couldn't hear him. It was like he was on vacation. And those were really lonely times for me because I was so used to communicating with him whenever I needed to. The fact that she was able to make him shut out the world, including me, made me so upset and so angry and so mad that I hated her. Like, how dare she take him away from me is how I felt. And then I got really, really envious about her because of her looks. I'm somewhat self-conscious about my looks. She is beautiful. Okay, think about the most beautiful person you've ever seen in your life. Times that by a million. That's what Esther looks like. Okay? And you have to think, Lucifer was once an angel. He was the most beautiful angel ever. Just because he became a demon doesn't mean all of a sudden he looks ugly. He still looks just as beautiful as he did then. He's just a demon. So of course his wife would have to be just as beautiful as he is. So she's like ungodly beautiful, if that makes sense. But anyway, I got to the point where I didn't want anything to do with her. My job is to proclaim her, proclaim his love for her. And I was so envious of her that I couldn't do my job. And he had to make a example of me. Like, I chose you for this job and you hate my wife. So I'm going to get rid of you. And that's what he did. He got rid of me. So you might ask, like, what do you mean he got rid of you? He took away my title. He took away my abilities. And he left. Meaning I could not hear him, see him, sense him, anything. It was like he never existed. taunting me. And then demons deem her as the demonic race. That does not mean she's half bred or anything like that. What that means is they see her as their equal and above. She's the queen. Satan's the king. They serve her and him as equals. There's no he over her, she over him. They're equals in their eyesight. They see her as demon. Just as, you know, same level, if not more important. They see her on the same level as Lucifer, just put it that way. Because I don't know which video it was I mentioned that they deemed her as demon, not meaning that she herself is a demon or demon bred or anything like that. They respect her as queen, is what that means. And so they taunted me, punished me, circled me like prey all the time. Just shadows following me everywhere I went, watching me, waiting for me to just do something so they could attack. They would attack me in my most vulnerable state. And it got so bad that I ended up moving out my house. My husband would see the shadows as well. So I remember one night they wouldn't leave, so we slept in a hotel. And shortly after, we moved out the house. Then when we had our new place, that's when my depression and my bipolar got really bad. I was diagnosed with depression when I was about 14 years old. But when I became highest high priestess, he took all the effects of it away from me. When he left, it all came back really bad, where I wanted to stand in front of cars. I thought about jumping off bridges. I thought about overdosing. I thought about slitting my wrists. I thought about drinking bleach or any kind of poison. Anyway, I just wanted to die. I thought about death every single day of my life. I just wanted to die. I didn't care about leaving my husband. I didn't care about leaving my baby that I had at the time. I wanted to die. Every day is how I felt. I even went to the hospital, the mental hospital, at least 3 times because of it. I started missing what I had. I realized what I had and what I had given up over envy. Like, if my title wasn't enough. And I started trying to make up voices in my head. Like, I took all the knowledge that I had learned and I made myself believe that gods and goddesses were talking to me. But she's their queen. They didn't want nothing to do with me. I would call out to different gods and goddesses that I had never even tried communicating with before, and they ignored me. They knew I was calling out to them, but they ignored me. Like, you disrespected our queen. How dare you come and try to talk to us? It's like I was going over Satan's head by doing that. And yeah, so they didn't respond. And so it was really lonely those 3 years. And like, me and my husband, we would have these arguments and stuff. And you know, in the past when we had arguments, I would go to Lucifer and pray, and he would fix it, or he would talk to me and tell me things were going to be okay. And I didn't have nowhere to turn. I had to deal with it on my own, and I was already thinking about killing myself every day. So on days when me and my husband would have an argument, I would attempt it. It wasn't just thinking about it. I would actually attempt it. I would actually go upstairs and take, you know, a whole bunch of pills until I felt like I wanted to throw up, or, you know, cut my wrist to where it took a little bit longer to stop the bleeding. And then when I was scared myself enough, that's when I would call those hotlines and they would tell me I need to go to the hospital. And I imagine going through that for 3 years straight. I did. And then it got really, really bad where I gave up on life pretty much. Like, I had 2 kids now. I was married. And I still wanted to die. I asked for death. Prayed for it. And I was about to go to the hospital a 4th time. And me and my husband and the kids, we went on vacation. And I found this little black cat. Well, it has always been my dream to have a black cat ever since I was a little kid. And the day before I found him, I had a vision of an inverted pentacle. And so I found this black cat. I named him Salem. And then like 3 days later, he became mine. And then shortly after that, Lucifer came back to me. He came back. I never thought he would come back. And it doesn't usually happen. So I am blessed that I got to come back. So when somebody asks me, how do I know that Esther is his wife? That's how I know. I lived it. I have memories of it. It haunts me. But I mean, I grew from it. I talk about it now. And you would think it wouldn't affect me anymore, but it does. Esther is his wife. And there's no denying it. I lost my title not just because of envy, but I got prideful. I thought I knew everything. I thought I was the best. And regardless of what people think about Lucifer, he does not like arrogance and pridefulness. He likes humbleness. And I was anything but. I was the complete opposite of what he expected me to be, what he wanted me to be. I was the complete opposite. So that's how I know she's his wife. All I can say right now is that without a shadow of a doubt, I know that Esther is his wife. Because like I said, I lived it. I've seen others go through similar to what I went through. And he will leave you no matter who you are. If you deny his wife, if you don't acknowledge his wife, if you talk bad about his wife, he doesn't care. He will leave you without a second thought. He left me just as fast. I owe him my life. I do. And he knows that I will do anything in my power to help people realize who she is. And I don't care who knows. I'm gonna get it out there. I will argue with anyone because I know for a shadow of a doubt she's his wife. So Thank y'all for watching. And I'll be back later. Bye.